Have I told you lately how much I love this show? This is the host of Being at Work, Andrea Butcher. And today's conversation is reflective of why I am so committed to these conversations. It is real, it is layered, it is dynamic. So welcome back. This is a really good one. Our guest today starts her day by asking, what does the organization need from me today? Her social impact foundation and this attitude that the work is bigger than her shapes her leadership, as you will so clearly hear in her stories. Jessica Sveen is the CEO of the Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institute. They are creating the space for communities and people of all backgrounds to realize their unique potential through the power of entrepreneurship. Jessica sees herself as a shepherd CEO and is committed to setting the tone for her team to grow and change. She says people are layered, and you're not going to know that until you get to know them. So listen in as we talk about so many things. One of the things we're going to talk a lot about is this necessary detachment that supports Jessica in putting her team and the organization first. And please join us and the rest of the world in a deep forward fold. I think it is just what we all need right now to lighten up a little bit. Jessica, welcome to Being at Work.
I have this plastered smile on. I love this stuff and this space. So thank you for having me.
You do. And I know you have lots of stories and lots of insights to share. But take us back a bit. Tell us a little bit about the journey that got you to where you are today.
My whole career has been in nonprofit and social impact work. So I don't know much different than that, but I have jumped from different nonprofits, from different issues, different focus areas. But I found myself at Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institute 10 years ago and jumped in because I believe in the power of entrepreneurship. Both of my parents are entrepreneurs. So it felt, I was like, oh, I get this from a kind of visceral level of taking calculated risks and really growing different forms of wealth for yourself and your family. So I jumped in and they were hiring and I was like, I will do anything. Like, you want me to shred paper? And I'm still shredding paper today. So I was like, I'll do anything to kind of be a part of this mission and movement. And I wanted to work in my community and I wanted to really see and affect change and impact in my space and also be changed and impacted by the work for my own life.
So what is microfinance? Tell us a little bit more about what you all do and what is it about it that's so exciting for you?
Yeah, so we work with what I have called like the micro entrepreneur. So really that one person that's raising their hand and saying like, I have an idea, or I have an existing business and I have been working 24/7 and I'm not making any money and I don't know what's going on. And I want to kind of come back to the drawing board. But a lot of our entrepreneurs start in that I have an idea space. I have an idea. I have 10 ideas. All I know is that I make the best cake in my neighborhood and everybody asks me for it for every celebration. And maybe I can make some money doing this. Or, like I have this kind of side gig of I make candles on the side and I think I can sell them at a market. And so it's really looking at the person. And microfinance, really a lot of people are really familiar with that term when we think about abroad. So Asia, Africa, different kind of micro like communities that have this really cool, beautiful, equitable ecosystem of business. And so I've spent a lot of time abroad and I've seen these beautiful spaces where, you have, one stall is the restaurant, and then next door is the laundromat, and then next door is the bodega. And so I was really introduced to that. One of the founders kind of shared a similar feel of really experiencing that abroad. And so we work with entrepreneurs in Denver and really throughout the whole state of Colorado. And we started in Denver and now we work with entrepreneurs throughout. So it's really focusing in on that one person, but also the larger belief that business ownership is for everybody and it's accessible for everybody. And so we have kind of tailored technical assistance support, really building capacity of entrepreneurs. They bring all the experience. And we just kind of provide that space to learn and grow. And then we're also a CDFI. So we're a community development financial institution, which allows us to lend money and grant money really when the entrepreneur is ready for it in their business.
So you're really helping people realize their dreams.
Yeah, it's, I think like we really focus on communities that have been shut out of traditional access to business ownership. So people that don't have generational wealth, who can't walk into a bank and look for a business loan, who don't go to business school, and so we have opened up a space where communities that have been under-supported, under-invested in to really step forward and say like, hey, I want to build a business for myself, for my family, for my community. And business really is that ripple effect. So it doesn't just affect that person. It affects their families, it affects their communities, their neighborhood. And so we do all that.
Yeah, like making it so much easier for people to do something with what they love, to do something with their passion, even like turning a hobby into a business. And I suspect you get a lot of people that probably never even dreamed that this could be a business.
Yep. 80% of our entrepreneurs are people of color and 76% are women. So two communities that have really been shut out from kind of traditional like opportunities of starting a business. So we believe in a concept called the whole entrepreneur, really believing that the business is only as strong as the person behind it. And so really getting to know the person at the center of the business really supports kind of this thriving business and kind of that longevity in that. And we're a lot of like small business. And when you think about small business in general, it could be up to 500 employees or something like that. So for us, it is really looking at that one person, and we want to get to know you and who you are and what makes you tick and the experience that you bring to the table, and tell me about your family and tell me about the things that you're passionate about, and how can we create that space that you can really step forward and take the risk of entrepreneurship in a really safe and supported way.
Yeah, because it's so personal. So you all are personalizing it.
Yeah. And so we do the deep work. And because of that, it's really long. I say small business is a long game in general, but really getting to know people takes a lot of time and energy. But I have such a fantastic staff that really care about people, are aligned in that way, and really believe that, people are worth it and can really do amazing things when given the chance.
Well, and it's so consistent with how you approach your internal team as well. And really taking the time to get to know people, to seeing them, to personalizing the work. So 10 years you've been at the Rocky Mountain Microfinance Institute. I suspect you've seen a lot of change in that time, and you've learned so much about who you are as a leader in that time. So you're now leading the organization as the CEO. Tell us about that journey.
Yeah, man, do we have 2 hours and a bottle of wine?
I know, right?
When I joined the organization 10 years ago, all 4 founders were still on staff, and it was very small. We just were operating one program in Denver, and over the next probably, I think like 3 to 5 years, all the 3 of the founders would transition. And it was really difficult for the organization in that time because a lot of people are attached to people. And so as founders transition, people leave with founders or be attached to founders in different ways. However, all of the founders really believed in the heart and spirit of who we are. So they would all say, we were here and we started something to really support a movement of access and inclusion when it comes to entrepreneurship. Wow. So as they changed, the organization changed and grew. And then about 2021, the last founder was our CEO, was my boss, and he transitioned pretty abruptly from a pretty tragic situation. And that was a moment when he wanted to leave the organization, and I was doing our operations at the time, so had hired all of our staff and really understood how the organization ran. And he was like, I got to get out of here, and I felt like in that moment I was able to say yes to him, kind of like, you need to go. It's going to be okay. We have got this and we can carry it on. And so when he retired, I stepped in as the interim CEO and then threw my name in the hat a couple months later when the board decided to do a full kind of nationwide search. In the end, I was the pick, which was awesome. And I think a lot of that had to do with I was the right person for the time that the organization was in. And so there's a stability quotient between a founder-led organization and a non-founder-led organization that's essential. And so that was in 22 when that happened. So really, I think mid to late COVID, when economic development was first and foremost in everybody's mind of really like jumpstarting the economy and really getting people working and or starting businesses. And so the organization grew very significantly during that time. So my first year of CEO, I went from 13 staff to almost 30. So we more than doubled our staff. We tripled our impact area. So we grew out of Denver Metro. We went into rural Colorado, really expanded pretty abruptly. And so we grew a lot because of opportunity. And so there was I always say there's a lot of cash in 22 for economic development, but we were in the right place at the right time to say yes to the need. There's entrepreneurs everywhere that are really looking for an in to entrepreneurship. So it really was a good opportunity. Since then, the organization, we were kind of backpedaling in some ways, like, creating the structure and the processes and all that stuff that maybe is less sexy than the growth, but necessary when it comes to stability and sustainability of the organization. And that's kind of where we see ourselves now. We have, just in the last couple months, because of just like what's happening right now in the United States, have scaled back, consolidated our programming, consolidated staff. And that was really heartbreaking for me in the moment, but necessary to just sustainability of the organization long term. So I've learned a ton. There's a lot of things that maybe I would have done differently in the past of where we're at now. But altogether, I've really learned, kind of what we said at the beginning, like this detachment to really put the mission of the organization first and foremost in decision making. Like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, what does RMFI need from me today? And where is my energy going today? Because, it's a pretty dynamic organization that's changing constantly.
Yeah. And that question, like, what does the organization need from me today? Like, how does that play out? Give us an example of something recently where it was a tough decision. It was maybe different than what Jessica would have done.
Yeah. We had, in the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of leadership transitions. And that can be pretty destabilizing for organizations because I think most staff will see leadership change. So like thinking about like director, team. And I think the decision and the place that I was like, what does RMFI need from me was kind of back to at the beginning. It was like, RMFI needs a stability quotient. And that like, I live and breathe. That's just who I am. That's like my disc profile. It's just like my personality in a way. And I had to tell and communicate to the staff. And this is like today, like this is really ongoing, that it's okay that people leave. And we have pretty strong retention rate at the organization. People have been with me from 4 to 7 years. And it's okay that people leave and move on. And with change comes new energy, new people, new personalities, whatever. And if the organization was dependent on people, like one person or multiple people, and just crumbled because they transitioned, that we were never as strong as we thought we were. But the mission lives beyond us. It's beyond people. It's beyond myself. It's beyond people in the organization. So I think it was the decision to just like kind of step back. Like I don't need to control change sometimes, but I'm going to it's like that, your podcast about the flow of the river of letting change happen and letting people walk their path and their journey. And I think that is the I think of like if I was scared, I would have tried to control it. Like, oh, don't leave. Everything's going to mess up. And it's really like, it's going to be okay,
Or if it was about you, but it's not. It's about what the organization needs, and it's about what they need also.
Exactly.
I mean, I suspect, back to your earlier comment about like really getting to know people and caring for people, I suspect you have good relationships with them. Like you didn't want to see them go, but because what's best for them, was that the driver behind it?
Yeah, I think so. And for me, it is, I say this a lot, it's like there can't be any ego in this work. It can't be about me and it can't be about them. However, like I made a commitment to transformational leadership a long time ago, and transformational leadership is, really seeing people for who they are and allowing people to walk their journey. And the moment that you try to control that, transformational leadership breaks down. It's like, well, I'm going to control their stuff. And it's really like, for me, like my life's work right now is to work and be at RMMFI. And if other people aren't there or they don't see that or they don't want that, that's okay. Go and, live your life, live your best life somewhere else, because I can get people in that are excited and passionate about where we're at. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think like you could be very bruised and kind of whipped around, but I'm just kind of like, hey, there's a detachment a little bit so that I can, walk that too.
Yeah. And it's a balance, isn't it? Because I hear in you, like it's so personal to you also. So it's got to be a balance between caring so much and this necessary detachment. And I like the word necessary. It ensures that you're not making ego-based decisions.
Yeah. And I think like in the past, in my journey, you get whipped around too much.
It's a great way to say it.
I have this vision of just like, it's like a flower in the wind or something, and that doesn't do the organization any good if you are doing that, or just like if this person leaves or this person transitions and you're just constantly being whipped around, like you have the rest of the staff are looking for, that stability in the storm a little bit. And they're also trusting you to see beyond people resigning. Like you have to see the whole picture and you have to be able to like, that's just one piece of it, of the whole puzzle of making what makes an organization work. And ultimately for us, it is always about the entrepreneur. And what's happening internally is, you want to make sure that you have a workplace that people feel like they can live their life passion out and their skill and talent and value is being used and known. But it's all in service of the mission. And that's just social impact work. Not everybody's job is like that. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, do people feel passion, their life passion, doing a variety of different things? I'm not sure, to each their own. But leading a social impact organization is constantly pointing people towards mission and, how can we be, 100% community? But at the same time, if they don't see me struggle and if they don't see me create balance, then they don't feel permission to struggle and create balance as well. So I try to have some transparency in that and vulnerability in that, because we're people and organizations are made up of people.
It's so great. Just this idea of leading with this attitude that the work is bigger than you, because it also takes the pressure off a bit. And there's also this feeling coming up for me of like, I wouldn't take myself so seriously.
Yes. I just said this to a colleague the other day. We grew so fast in a short amount of time, and like all of a sudden things became like real serious. We had all this money, we had all these things going on, and like the work we're doing is serious. I guess people's lives and it's entrepreneurship, but it's just like all of a sudden it was like we're making processes and we have like technology, and it just got real serious. And I was like, now we're in this and the next kind of state of transition. And I was like, we gotta shake it off. Like I was like, everyone needs to do, like I always say, everyone needs to do like a deep forward fold, like a yoga pose. I was like, I think the world needs to do a forward fold, but just like RMFI, we need to get, like shake it off and get back to having some fun. Entrepreneurship is innovative and creative and disrupting and fun. And, there's so much in it that what we're doing. And I feel like we've gotten a little off kilter with just like the seriousness of it.
That everyone do a deep forward fold. And that's going to be my new
You know
mantra.
what I mean?
Yes.
Just feels good.
It's like, chill the fuck out. It's not that serious. Yes, but we're wound so tight and we're trying so hard.
Right.
I find myself getting caught up in like doing the right thing. And it's like, but for what? I need to go bigger, go back to the mission, go back to the customer. Who am I serving? How can I add value? Like that's the focus.
Yeah. One of our guiding principles is around purpose. And I was like, if you can't answer the why, then why are we doing it?
Yeah.
And it leaves room, but that also leaves room for the creative and the innovative of, hey, we tried this and like, this is connected to the mission because of here. And I'm like, awesome. Let's try that.
Let's try that.
Because I'm like, there's such few things for me that are like hills to die on. Like I have a couple, and I can communicate that, but outside of it, I'm like, if it's not working, let's change it. Especially in a time like now where pivoting and being flexible is necessary. Necessary is key to really survival as an organization, but also to allow our entrepreneurs to do that as well. That's what they're doing every day is pivoting. They're being flexible. They're changing things up. And I want to make sure that I have an organization that is like malleable because entrepreneurship is that way. Again, it's like, it's the fourfold shake off. Like, we got to get back to having some fun.
And the flow. It sounds an awful like a shepherd CEO. When we first talked, you called yourself, as you said, as kind of shepherding, like a shepherding CEO.
Yeah.
What? Like why? Like what does that mean to you?
This vision came to me this past year because I was asking my question, like asking myself, like, what is the point? Like, what are we doing here? And where I'm at my own leadership journey. And this vision of a shepherd came to mind for me because it's like the moment in time of the organization's life. And I, was handed the organization from a founder, and it's kind of my journey to be able to shepherd it to its next leader. I don't see myself as like the 30-year CEO that's unable to leave, the organization and like everything kind of like depends on her, and I don't see myself leaving like tomorrow, but it's like, how do I take something and then pass it on to the next leader in a way that is strong and resilient? And that's a non-ego driven work.
Very much so.
Because I don't see myself as like this, you are like the pivotal piece for the rest of RMFI's history. I think the movement and the mission is beyond me. Yeah. And so it's not, the organization's not there yet that I can pass it off right now, but we're getting there. And I see that as like kind of that shepherd of like, how do I, continue to have sustainability, scalability for the organization for its next leader.
And just like everything else you said, I mean, that vision is not about you. Shepherding it so that the next leader is set up for success. Like inherent in that is knowing that this is bigger than you and you're doing your part right now.
Yeah.
You also have a very full personal life. So I'm curious how that fits into your vision to transformational leadership. You have a 5-month-old at home.
I do.
Who woke up in the middle of the night with poop all over him. That's how we started our conversation today.
Motherhood is wild, and
see, that's why that's the heart of this show, our humanness at work. You're a shepherd CEO who is also cleaning poop off of her 5-month-old in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I had my first baby in November, and Xavier. Yep, Xavier, I have to say. And your listeners can't see me, but, I had a kid later in life, I would say. Which emotionally, kids are a young man's game, and But like, I think emotionally and mentally, like I'm right there. Like I feel in a better position, I guess, to raise a human. And so this whole other layer was created in me. More so than when I was pregnant, I was just firing on all cylinders still and running around town. And so it wasn't until, I had him that all of a sudden this other layer was created and this other bucket that needed energy. And I was like, where is this energy going to come from? I only have a certain amount of buckets, and I think not only motherhood is like this, but working motherhood is the realization that you can't give 100% to anything that you do. You can't be 100% a mom. You can't be 100% wife. You can't be 100% CEO, and you can't be 100% for yourself. But somehow it all works beautifully. And there's a lot of strength in that as well. Like being a layered person is strength. And it actually helps me show up as CEO in a new and fresh way that is like more connected to the fact that one, I can't do everything, right? There's 5 buckets that aren't being completely full at any given moment. And so you can't do everything. You can't do everything perfectly. Life be life in a lot of ways. And like, you can't control it. And like you can't control this human from pooping in the middle of the night. And didn't he know that I had a meeting at 9? Didn't he know that?
He?
Like he does not know that, and he does not care. So
I have to tell everyone my favorite part of the story though, real quickly.
Yeah.
Since the cat's out of the bag. So Jessica told me earlier when she was telling me the story that at first, because the poop was the same color as his onesie, she was like, oh, he's fine. It's okay. And then she was like, oh. When you look a little more closely,
I'm like putting it in between my fingers, and I'm like, this doesn't taste, smell like this.
Right.
And I was like, how long has he been in poop? Has it been hours? Has it been minutes? I don't know, and I think I love to laugh, and it's, there's so many things you can get just bogged down by, at 1 a.m. And then before the poop, at 1 a.m. He was crying probably because he had pooped his pants, and he was crying, and I was just like, I can't. Like, again, it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
But you do, and you continually show up. And I think motherhood is discovering you have this like other reserve that you didn't know you had. And 5 hours sleep, doesn't matter. You can just keep going. And so it's at the same time, with all the other buckets not being completely full, I do think that there's a mental flexibility in that of kind of back to like, what does Armify need from me today? Yeah. What do I need from me today? What does my son need from me? What does my husband need? And being able to be able to move and flex, because maybe one bucket at one time is going to be fuller than other ones, but that changes. And, balance isn't that everything is at 25%, it's just that, life is continually kind of moving. So very much as like the river. I had that vision from your daily dose.
And it also sounds very much like the shepherd doing what you need to do wherever you are, what the people in your life need. You're ebbing and flowing with them. Yeah.
And I just said to myself like a while ago, maybe I was in the operations role, so doing a lot more HR, but I was just like, try to get to a place where things don't surprise you, and that is a ton of work. But a lot of that, it's not about people. It's always about you. And so how are you becoming mentally flexible so that you aren't surprised? So
yeah, where you can just be is that so? Yeah. Is that right?
So people are like, whether they're leaving the organization or not, or all of a sudden this funding is cut, and all of a sudden, you just are in this space of like, don't let it, surprise you, or have enough space where you can absorb it and kind of move forward. But it always starts with you. It's never about somebody else.
It does. And a place where you won't be whipped around, because if I'm not in a great space and I get hit with something, I'm a lot more likely to be whipped around. So how do you keep yourself in that headspace? What are some of your rhythms?
Yeah.
In addition to your deep forward folds that you do
Deep forward fold.
every day.
I mean, some of it is.
I'm totally doing a deep forward fold after this recording.
I know.
I'm going to take one for the team.
Take one for the team. Take one for the world. I do a lot of meditation and therapy and coaching and all those things that that aid to your life, and getting outside. I think it's always, it's like, right now I'm in my basement. It's like, get outside, there's fresh air out there. There's sun out there. I think I have some deep faith and hope that there's strong connections out there and God has me in a lot of ways. And that's a whole different podcast, I think. But
but it's so supportive, isn't it? Such a strong foundation that all of this is built on, clearly.
Yep. And my husband is extremely supportive. And I think that has been everything to me. I mean, to have, I think especially as a woman in leadership and a working mom in leadership, to have a supportive husband, just a supportive partner that is kind of all about you and doesn't need to be first and, all the things. So we're not competitive in that way. And that's freeing. And I can be a CEO because I have the support of him. So that's huge too.
Yeah. You've got a partner.
Yeah.
It's good to have our people.
And then I'm always looking for other things, outside of that is, wine and gin and exercise. It's like all the things.
Back to the balance, isn't it?
Yep.
Being a layered person is strength, and there are lots of layers there.
And I think for our MMFI, part of our North Star is realizing that people are layered. And you're not going to know that unless you get to know people. And the diversity of people and their layers create a diversity of businesses and strong ecosystems. Like it's just is the strength of business is the strength of the person. But you're never going to know that unless you take the time and really get to know people. And so, like part of our North Star is allowing the layers to be there, and that is, I think, freeing. So within transformational leadership, it's never asking somebody to do something that you're unwilling to do. Yeah. And so I think seeing all my layers and everything that kind of aids to who I am, it allows me to open up and see who are people, who are other people, and what is it, the dreams that you have, and what do you bring to the table in all your spaces. And so,
well, and back to the shepherd analogy, like a shepherd knows their flock. They're paying attention. They recognize when something's different or something's off because of the depth of connection and relationship there. Like there's this intuitive sense that maybe I need to lean into that a little bit. Maybe I need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. And you don't get there when you're running around and full. And I think taking time, especially right now for the organization, we're in a little bit of a transition and kind of a rebuild or regrowth or a pivot. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And so what RMFI needs from me today is to have space to see what is really going on.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get there if I just crowd my schedule and try to fix everything. And because I can absolutely be a fixer. And that's not what RMFI is asking me to do right now. Yeah. It's how do you continue to build a stronger boat or whatever the analogy is so people can kind of ride out the storm and be a team together. So it's really finding the right team.
Yeah. If you could go back, you said you've learned a lot through the journey, 10 years with the organization, 3 years as CEO. If you could go back to becoming the CEO, you said national search, the board has named you as the CEO of the organization. That must have been a fun day. What advice would you give yourself?
Buckle up for something. Yeah. I think the advice I probably would have given me is really lonely. Leadership can be really lonely. they always say leadership, is lonely at the top, and I have absolutely found that to be true. But something that I developed within the first year, so like if I had to go back and I would have prepped myself, was to build your own table. And that's something that I did the first year a little slower. So I would say maybe build it quicker, but or maybe during that interim phase or something, because it's hard to, it's just lonely. It's a big job, and your staff, even your leadership team, aren't your peers in a way. And so you can't completely unload or be like, this is what I'm thinking about, and, freak everybody out. So it's the building table of external people that are like champions for me, champions for the organization, and ultimately want to see kind of everything be successful. And so it's not about groupthink. It's about like, where are the challenges and where's the trust in the challenges, and where's the advice that I'm going to get. And so I build kind of a table of people that I can call any of them up and be like, this is what I'm thinking, or this is what's happening. And really like listening, having people listen and hold space for me, because I can't ask my staff to do that all the time.
Right.
So I think create your own community, create your own table of support. And then I had a long journey in the last 3 years of kind of what I'm talking about in confidence today, but it is how to be mentally flexible, how to kind of have a natural detachment so that you can see the bigger picture, how to communicate the bigger picture over and over again, because people need to hear it over and over and over again in different ways and in different whatever. So, but that was a long journey. And then also what I'm currently learning right now is how to trust your gut. So I probably would have told her 3 years ago, listen to your gut.
Yeah.
You've been here a long time. You know how to run this thing, and that's why they chose you. And that's why they believe that you could do it. And it took me a while though. I feel like I regressed in trusting myself until now. I'm like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I know what needs to be done. And you can make those decisions and trust yourself.
Especially since you had all that experience. Mm-hmm. There's competence in that experience that you had. You were in such a good position. So such great advice for any leader in any organization. Trust yourself. Awesome. I love this conversation. And I'm going to be in person with you at RMMFI. It's really hard. I know.
Everyone has to say it like in the mirror 20,000 times. RMMFI. You'll still get it wrong.
RMMFI.
So
got it. I got it now.
Yeah.
But you are hosting a Being at Work community event with a couple of other past Being at Work guests on June the 13th. So if you are in the Denver metropolitan area and you're listening to this, check it out. Join us that morning. We're going to have some fun connection and community conversation. Yeah. So before we hop off of this call, I have 3 rapid fire questions for you.
All right, let's do it.
I always love, in the spirit of being at work, I always love to just go a little deeper and learn a little bit more about our guests. So the first question is light and breezy and easy and fun. I want to know, what was your first concert?
Oh, 98 Degrees.
Really?
That doesn't date you. Yeah.
Wow.
I had to convince my parents to let me go.
Nick Lachey, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his brother. I don't even remember. What do you have at 98 Degrees? I'm trying to think. What do they even sing?
I wouldn't even say I was a fan. Honestly, it was the kind of the boy bands, Explosion, era. And that or Britney Spears.
Okay,
back in the day.
I bet that was a good show, though.
Excellent. My mom dropped us off and picked us up.
Oh, you've arrived.
Yes.
Okay, question number 2. What makes you feel most alive?
Probably travel, experiencing something different than what I experience every day. So whether that's culture, people, food, scenery, it gets me out of my kind of day-to-day, and I just kind of come alive.
What is a place that you have, I know you've done lots of traveling, but what's a favorite travel destination where you got to experience that aliveness?
So many. I got to climb and summit Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania.
Oh, wow. Damn. When did you do that?
That was in 2018, 17 or 18. I did it with RMMFI, some volunteers and my sister. We raised money for the organization and climbed. And then we went to Zanzibar, which is an island off the coast of Tanzania. And
amazing.
I dream about that place. I mean, the water is like crystal clear. Everybody's amazing and beautiful people. So I would absolutely go back there.
Love those experiences where like, I've never seen anything like that before.
I've never seen anything like I did a safari. I think like every American needs to do a safari to see animals in their natural habitat. So it was absolutely alive.
Okay. And last question. What do you wish people understood about you?
I think that I'm not that serious. I think that I laugh easily. And when I'm not laughing, I'm not flowing. I'm not, and that doesn't mean that life's a joke or anything like that. It's when I feel my energy is flowing like just through my body, and that is light and fun in the midst of hard things. And I think I stepped into this role, and all of a sudden, like I said, all of a sudden things got like real serious. And I was like, like social impact and the work that we're doing is serious. However, like we're all people, and there's a creativeness and magic about entrepreneurship that's just beyond. It's just beyond. You have to let it flow the way that it needs to. And I very much resonate with that for just my own life, a flowness, and you're just not as serious or intimidating as maybe I come across. I don't know. Maybe I don't.
Yeah. And just isn't life so much more enjoyable when you take the armor off and go with it? Yeah.
It's like life is still very difficult, but there's a vulnerability in that to just say like, hey, this is tough, and no one's pretending otherwise. So let's do the collective forward fold.
Let's do
take a breath.
The collective forward fold. That's my biggest takeaway from this conversation. It's a great summary. And I think it's what the Shepherd CEO would want us all to do. Jessica, thank you so much. It has been such a delight getting to know you, getting to learn from you. You're one of those people. I mean, I could sit here for hours talking to you.
I really appreciate that. And I love the space.
Yes. And I feel your goodness. It just oozes out of you. And you're just so cool.
Well, likewise.
So I can't wait to see you in person.
I know. I'm really excited to host you all and kind of share our space. And again, it's the kind of that energy and that entrepreneurship piece that I think is really, really good.
Well, and because you have such a servant heart, but let's talk a little bit about how individuals and organizations can support the work that you all are doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. The best way to find us is at our website, which is www.rmmfi.org. We have impact reports and ways to get involved from donation. We're a nonprofit and we're 100% philanthropically supported. So anything works. Also, we have a pretty thriving mentorship program. So really supporting entrepreneurs, walking through the journey with them. And then also, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking to really start something, take a risk, live in Colorado at the moment, and really want to get involved in that way, check us out. You can find me on LinkedIn, but our website would probably be the best place to kind of learn a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you, Jessica. I so appreciate you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Andrea. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. Let's connect to go a bit deeper. How can I help you? Looking for an executive coach, a facilitator for a team or leader engagement, or a high energy, heartfelt speaker? Learn more and connect with me through our website at abundantempowerment.com. I look forward to co-creating something magical with you.